So those statements mean nothing to me, and I would hope sincerely that the BBC will recognise that as well.
During coverage of Israel's latest atrocity, the BBC was called out on air by a surgeon as BBC was repeating Israeli talking points that simply have no bearing in reality. So this gets us to what happened. And it's becoming tougher and tougher and tougher to know what to say in these videos, because I think it is clear to everybody at this point what Israel is doing, what they have been doing, the genocide they've been committing. And every act is just a reminder of how little our governments are doing to stop it and how frustrating that is. This one was caught on video. Now, even though the video itself, it's not as, I don't know how to describe this. You don't see blood. Even though you don't see blood, I don't believe I can play this video on YouTube without the video potentially getting restricted, and then no one sees this video. So I want people to see what is going on, what's happening. I can show you the before and after, and it gives you an idea of just how depraved the Israeli government is. And I'm going to get to an article from a month ago discussing what Israel does. And this is a perfect example of that article. So this is the before and after. Israel had already hit a hospital. So as Gaza Notifications tweets out here, a video documents a horrific Israeli crime targeting ambulance and civilian defense crews as they were rescuing victims and the wounded after Israel bombed Nasser Medical Complex in Khan Younis. Among them was journalist Hassam al-Masri. This is the before. There's journalists in this image. There's medical personnel. That's the after. They bombed this hospital twice, knowing that people would be there at this time trying to rescue the ones that were hit the first time. And they have done this consistently. Now, the AP piece on this, AP freelancer among 5 journalists killed in Israeli strikes on Gaza hospital, health officials say. This is the AP journalist. This is Miriam Abu Daga. She was 33, a visual journalist, freelance for the AP during the war. This is their quote. They call it a war, the genocide. So freelance for the AP during the genocide, as well as other news outlets. She has a 13-year-old son who was previously evacuated from Gaza. Now, worth mentioning, as the current count is 20 people total were killed in this attack. These were the 5 journalists that were killed. So Mohammed Salam, journalist for Al Jazeera, Ahmed Abu Aziz, a freelancer for Middle East Eye, Hassam al-Masri, a cameraman for Reuters, Muaz Abu Taha, a freelancer for Reuters, and Hatam Khalid, a photographer who's not pictured here. He was not killed, but he was wounded. In addition to, as I said, Miriam Daga. Now, Israel has killed. This is the official count, which, as I've said in the past, this applies to civilians as well. It's hard to know what the real number is. Now, in the case of journalists, it's likely a little more accurate because these are people that were accounted for in Gaza and they've lost trace of them. So this number is likely closer to the real number than the actual civilian number, which estimates now are putting it around 300,000 civilians have been killed by the Israeli government. Or in the case of Ralph Nader and his group, 400,000 is the number that they are citing, going on to write in this Common Dreams piece. Interestingly, the media has no trouble estimating the Syrian deaths at the hands of dictator Assad, 500,000, nor the deaths in the wars in Sudan or Ukraine. Only the Palestinians who are not allowed to live don't get the respect of having their deaths accurately estimated. So the official count from the UN, what they're aware of, is 60,000. And that is really only tracking people who are in hospitals, people that they know were there when they were hit, not the entirety of what is happening or what has happened in Gaza at the hands of the Israeli government. Now, that said, the count, as I said, on journalists is likely more accurate. This tweet here from Abu Bakr Abed, he's a Palestinian journalist, writing, "This was only 17 hours ago. A video to support women journalists in Gaza. Israel murdered one and killed the husband of the other. Western women journalists are then justifying their killings. So there's a video here that I will share in a link in the description box on YouTube. Now, this gets to the genesis of this whole thing. These double tap airstrikes. So this is an article, as you can see, from 97 magazine from a month ago. Now we have one of these double tap airstrikes caught on camera as they did it. So they write here, how Israel targets Gaza rescue efforts. In the aftermath of bombings, the Israeli army routinely fires on Palestinian rescue workers, paramedics, and other civilians to prevent them from saving the wounded, an investigation reveals. And they go into that investigation here. Again, I will link this below the video, but this is what they do. And we still have allies of the Israeli government. I mean, the U.S., forget it. They're completely, not even just defending what they're doing. They are funding it. They are supplying weapons. They are giving them even more. Like, it's ongoing. They are going as far as to sanction individuals who of the ICC who chose to issue an arrest warrant for Netanyahu. Like the U.S. government is completely cooked. But when we're talking about even people like, or countries like Canada, like France, ones that have put out strongly worded letters towards the Israeli government, there is no real meat behind any of it. There needs to be an entire shutdown on support for Israel completely abide by the BDS movement here. In addition to that, arrest anyone from the Israeli government who sets foot on the soil of any of these other countries. If you're going to write your strongly worded letter, you have to actually put something behind it. Otherwise, it means nothing. Israel's not going to stop because you asked them nicely. Now, a few reactions here before I get to the surgeon on the BBC. Ryan Grimm tweeting out, I'm trying to think of a more cowardly and grotesque set of circumstances than what the world just watched Israeli forces carry out on live TV to strike a hospital, then to wait for rescue workers and journalists to arrive on the scene, and to strike the exact spot again in order to kill the medical staff, the civilian defense rescue workers, and the journalists. As 972 reported, these double taps are an explicit part of Israeli strategy to make rescue work impossible. This is genocidal mania of the most extreme degree, armed and funded by the United States. Jeremy Corbyn here, writing, Israel bombed a hospital. Rescue workers and reporters rushed to recover the dead and the wounded. Israel bombed the hospital again, live on TV. Read that again. Our government's legacy will be its complicity in crimes against humanity. End all arms sales to Israel now. So the UK has also been very supportive of Israel to the point where they've supplied spy planes. There are entire videos showcasing these spy planes circling around Gaza, sending that intel to the Israeli government. So they have been an active participant in this as well. So it's good to see Jeremy Corbyn, who should have been a prime minister of the UK, should be the prime minister, calling this out. And he, of course, he has been a consistent and leading voice on this in the UK. This tweet here. Israel used to pretend they didn't murder journalists and bomb hospitals. Now they're killing journalists by bombing hospitals. And Ben Smoke tweeting out here. I'm old enough to remember people on here categorically denying Israel would ever attack a hospital. I remember that. There's a whole, you can go back 2 years, a video where Israel denied, oh, we didn't hit the hospital. That was Hamas. Turns out a deeper investigation about a month later figured out that it was indeed Israel. And everyone at the time saying that it wasn't Israel never came out to apologize or correct their mistake. Worth noting this as well. Direct through line from the AP refusing to clearly condemn Israel's destruction of its press office in Gaza in 2021 to today, where Israel attempts to exterminate every single Palestinian journalist, even the ones who work for the Associated Press. So I remember covering this at the time. This is a video from May 15th, 2021. Israel destroys AP and Al Jazeera building in Gaza. Now, at the time, AP put out a letter saying, or a statement saying, we are shocked and saddened by this. We need to figure out more information. We're in contact with the U.S. State Department, and hopefully we hear more answers. Never really heard much else from the AP about that since. They treated the entire thing in their initial statement as if it was potentially a mistake, even though clearly it was done on purpose and done for this purpose, One they state in their letter, but they don't state it. They don't state it as the reason Israel did it. They just state it as a matter of fact. The world will know less about what is happening in Gaza because of what happened today. That is why the Israeli government did that bombing and why they continue to target journalists to this day. Let me get to this clip now. This is from the BBC. Here is Nick Maynard, a surgeon, calling out the BBC on air for simply repeating Israeli government talking points.
The Israeli military, as you probably heard me say there, the IDF, have said they are going to investigate. They do not intentionally target people who are not involved in the conflict.
Well, I hope the BBC will acknowledge that those statements hold no weight at all these days. Those statements saying they are not responsible, they have not meant to do this, has not been borne out by any of the multiple witness statements coming out from healthcare workers and many other people coming out from Gaza. These are deliberate acts. They have been deliberately targeting hospitals. They have been deliberately killing healthcare workers. They have been deliberately abducting and detaining illegally and torturing healthcare workers. So those statements mean nothing to me, and I would hope sincerely that the BBC will recognise that as well.
Well, we're just reporting what the Israeli Defence Forces have said. And they're also, of course, as you will know, they have said many times in the past that hospitals in Gaza have been used by Hamas for military purposes.
Yes, and the BBC will also know that they've interviewed multiple healthcare workers from this country and others who have said there is no evidence whatsoever to support those claims. And indeed, the BBC will also know that the evidence provided by Israel has not been remotely verifiable and not remotely credible. So I think that needs to be acknowledged publicly by our media.
You literally have a video of the Israeli government striking innocent healthcare workers and the press while they are trying to help people at a hospital. And you are still repeating the Israeli government talking point that they don't hit people intentionally. After they just struck that hospital, they know what they struck. They know that people are going to be there trying to save the ones who are wounded, and they strike it again. At some point, you have to stop repeating the lies. I don't care that it's from, the government of a country. They are full of shit. If you're going to repeat what they're saying, then you have to repeat it with the added information that they have been lying about this consistently. It is not simply the job of the guest on air to refute what the BBC is saying. It is your job as a journalist to tell people what is actually going on. Like the ongoing attempt at both siding a genocide has been horrifying and disgusting. The media, look, I want to be clear. The reason why we are aware of any of this is because of people that work in media. But when we are talking about media organizations, large ones like the BBC, like CNN, like NBC, ABC, there is still this CBC in Canada. There is still this ongoing desire to try and give the Israeli government the benefit of the doubt when they have shown again and again and again, and they have stated with their own words that their intent is to destroy Gaza and take over the land. That is their own words. And you're still trying to give them every ounce of credibility or excuse when they haven't earned any of it. They don't deserve any of it. They have shown you what they are. They are terrorists disguised under the name of a government. That's what they are. It is just, it's exhausting. It's exhausting to continue see what is happening. There are so many stories within this genocide that I simply have not been able to cover because there's just too much of it. It's every day. It's ongoing. As somebody who's trying to absorb it and understand how to communicate it to people, it's impossible for me as one person to be able to do that consistently. So I have to pick what story I think I can talk about and deliver in a way that communicates the reality of what is happening. But it is so devastating, and it is very hard to it's very hard to witness, let alone I can't even imagine actually being there. Can you think how, I'm trying to think of the right word, because brave doesn't do it justice, but just the the level of I guess bravery, for lack of a better term, to be a journalist on the ground in Gaza, covering what is going on, to rush into a hospital minutes after it's bombed to try and help people who were hit, like whether it's the rescue workers, the doctors, the surgeons, the press, the people that have decided, that have made it their choice to be there while this is going on, knowing they are putting their lives on the line. I cannot think of a stronger human being on earth than the people who do that kind of work. It's incredible to me. And if you're going to call yourself a journalist, the least you can do is honor the people who are being intentionally killed by the Israeli government by telling the world what is actually going on.